Greetings, everyone. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you and be here in your presence, and to have you in our presence. It's always an honor. It's a blessing. Just a gift. It's a gift from the Source Creator to have this opportunity to share uh, some of our experiences, our thoughts, our research, our study, our thinking, our reflection, even our prayers, for us to see uh, human beings, true humans, have the opportunity to expand and grow to our fullest. That's what nunetics brings you. And so we're nearing uh, I don't want to say the end because it's not the end, it's more the beginning of a deeper exploration into the value and the substance and the essence of words, of the letters that make up the words. That's what phonetics does. So we have been bringing you uh, the ABCs of nunetics, the foundation, and we'll continue today with the letter Hamza. Of course, some uh, linguists don't necessarily treat that as a letter, but we do, and you'll understand why when international instructor Benjamin Bilal takes this talking stick that I'm ready to pass on.
All
Uh,
right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Greetings. And it's another beautiful day in the neighborhood for learning nunetics.
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot we want to say about this glyph, we'll call it. Since some people don't like to recognize it as a letter, we'll just say it's a glyph.
Okay.
And this glyph is called a Hamza. Hamza. Hamza is actually a truncated letter Ein.
Hmm.
So in that sense, the linguists see it as the same thing.
Hmm.
And the Ein, as you can hear in its pronunciation, represents a cutting of sorts.
Hmm.
And actually, that's what the word Hamza means. Yeah, there was a very famous character in Muslim history, one of the companions of the Prophet, who was called Hamza.
Hmm.
And he was known as an expert swordsman because he would cut your head off. I hate to be so graphic, but he was you talking about Hamza being able to cut something at the throat. Yeah. So what it actually represents is not so much the violent aspects of cutting anybody's throat. It's talking about, in fact, if you listen to the pronunciation of Hamza as Ain, not Hamza, but Hamza as ah, that's all it is.
Hmm.
Ain is Ain. Hamza is as though you are attempting to pronounce it but got cut off.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about what that means. Hamza is any potential in you that attempts to express itself but gets cut off.
Mm.
Now, that's a lot to think about. It is dealing with the human intellect, it is dealing with human expression, it is dealing with the expression of human potential that has the ability to be curtailed or cut off
Mm.
or remain dormant. There may be a potential in you that can express itself intellectually, emotionally, rationally, but because of the circumstances of its environment, it's not allowed to happen.
Mm.
Not allowed to happen. And there are many examples we can draw from today's society, but I'm going to leave that hanging for just a moment. Uh, Hamza is related to things that are electric. You know,
Mm.
when you listen to electric utensils and so forth, and you turn them on and they ah, the razor ah, you hear that sound. It's actually Hamza.
Mm.
And Oftentimes they provide a cutoff switch, we call it, where you can turn it on. And when you turn it on, it gets the fullest utility.
Hmm.
That's when it can do what it is you need for it to do. My wife and I, we watch a lot of lawn care videos,
Mhm.
and maybe it's just a result of growing older. We just like to sit because we like the sound of the tools that they use to cut the lawn and to cut the grass. They got the big electric motors, and
Right.
it's just it's so soothing, man. Sometimes we go to sleep to you. Mm. When you turn that sound off, when you turn that machine off, that's Hamza.
Hmm.
When you turn that light off and you interrupt the flow of the electricity,
Hmm.
that's Hamza. So Hamza is an interruption in a thing's ability to do what is its potential to do. And I'm saying it like that so that we will begin to relate it to human beings who
Hmm.
have potential, but whose potential has been curtailed or cut off. You have some words in the Arabic language which we find in the Quran. One of them is nisa. Many people have heard that word. They think it means women. We'll go through that at some other point. It doesn't mean women. But nisa, if you say that you've heard that before, but you don't correct me in my pronunciation of it, then you're really not giving me the proper word because it's not nisa. It's nisa.
Hmm.
You hear the difference? Yeah. It's
Yes.
nisa. And there are a lot of words in the Quran that have that Hamza at the end of it that represents a cutting off of something. So nisa, the word actually means or is related to your human urges, the sex urge, anything that can be instinctive, that's inborn, that's innate, that you can actually go overboard. If you leave the switch on, it's going to burn out. We know that's true for our urges, especially the sexual urges.
Hmm.
If you
Yeah.
just leave the switch in the up position, that
Mhm.
thing is you're gonna come back and you're gonna need a battery charge.
Hmm.
See? So that's what it means. It doesn't mean women. It's talking about the feminine principle related to your human urges. Yeah. So the idea is that it's something that can be switched on, but something that every now and then also needs to be switched off because then it becomes an overly uh, um, uh, what do you call that? And what they call a surge.
Hmm.
We have what we call surge protectors
Right.
so that the electricity doesn't become jammed up in the wall and create a fire. Well, that's what that is. So, speaking of fire in the body, Hamza represents what's called the pineal gland. And whenever you hear about the pineal gland, you're going to be hearing about it being associated with fire because the pineal gland is called such because it resembles the pine cone. And the pine cone is an organ in the brain that, when it is activated, they speak of it as reacting like a firecracker for the brain. In other words, when it becomes activated, it's just, I mean, not physically, you don't hear it in your head,
Hmm.
but the idea of its usage is that it becomes on fire, it becomes activated, it becomes alive. You begin to become aware of so many things around you that were always there, but you didn't know about, just like being in the dark until somebody turns the light switch on. And you say, wow, I didn't know you had a house this fantastic. You were in it all of the time and those items were there, but because the switch wasn't turned on, you weren't able to recognize it. So we're talking about things that provide an electric charge. We're talking about things that make an abrupt appearance. We're talking about things that also disappear or have their presence interrupted. Sometimes you'll be at a baseball game or something, and you know, back in the day, yeah, let's say after Willie Mays retired from baseball, and then all of a sudden you're there at a Yankee game or at a Mets game, and all of a sudden here comes Willie Mays. I'd like to introduce to you, we have with us today Willie Mays, and everybody's like, wow, that all of a sudden that sudden charge,
Right.
that's Hamza,
Mm.
that's Hamza, and when he's gone, it's cut off. The excitement is cut
Right.
off. So this is a very exciting letter that we're talking about. So I'm going to say just a couple more things about it, and then I think it'll be sufficient that we conclude on that. This happens also in the area of education.
Mm.
That there are ideas that our brains wrap themselves around that provide that same kind of sudden insight.
Mm.
But it's not just because you read a book. It's because you gave yourself over to the necessary meditation, contemplation, these things that create a spark after a while. After you focus on them, then all of a sudden you had an aha moment before, I'm sure, oh yeah, that's Hamza.
Mhm.
Yeah, when it has to be a sudden coming into an enlightenment. It's not a gradual thing like, going through 3 or 4 years of college and then all of a sudden you're enlightened. No, this is when you're sitting down, not necessarily paying particular attention to anything, but because of the accumulation of things that you've learned from study, even things that you really didn't quite understand when you studied them, all of a sudden it can come to you. Yeah, all of a sudden it can come to you. So that can be turned on and that can also be turned off. We call that the dumbing down process.
Mhm.
And so it's any situation that keeps your human potential either enlightened or in the down switch position, meaning dormant. And that word nisa that we were discussing earlier that people mistake for the idea of women, it also means to become forgetful. Nisa, if you look it up in the Arabic English dictionary, it's going to say those who forget.
Mhm.
So what is forget? What is forgetfulness? It's the
Mm.
sudden cutting off of the information from the brain.
Right.
You knew it, but now you can't grasp it because it's gone. Oh man, give me a minute. I got to think on that. Those who forget. You're supposed to meet somebody at the mall and you got so tied up or so busy or whatever it is. And they use it for women because women get tied up with stuff that causes them to often forget other things. Oh, I was supposed to pick my child up from school. Oh, and then, because she's so busy watching the soap operas. I hate to put it in there. Not saying that's all women, but it's just a glaring example of the cutoff process. Even during the process of American style slavery, when the slaves were freed, the the yearning in the average slave for education would leave them sometimes in the field. This happened when the idea of freeing the slaves was first introduced. And when they were told you are free now, they would find many, many slaves in the field, leaning on their tools, on their rakes, on their whatever it was they were working in the field with. And they would be there, some of them with open books in their hand. Not that
Mm.
they could read, the ability to read was cut off,
Mm.
but they were straining to read.
Mm.
It was against the law to read, but they were straining their brains in an effort to figure out what is this letter? What does this sound like? Right. So that's the activating of that pineal energy, the activating of that electric spark that they were looking for that could bring them into a new sense of enlightenment.
Mm.
See, so and then when the ability to be educated through the public school system became available, many of the slaves actually were given a raw deal because what we thought was going to be this enlightenment period of new information and new knowledge that we had never known before, you know, uh, turned out to be something that was designed actually to control us,
Mm.
to control the people, because they were navigating where that electric spark would go.
Right.
And it was only activated in the interest of those moneymakers who
Hmm.
needed to use the slave or the freed slave at this point to increase his coffers, to increase his ability to make more and more money. You know, they did the same thing during the period of time in America when they were allowing the women to not only go to school, but to get jobs. You know, there was a time in American history not too long ago when women weren't supposed to work.
That's right.
The Christian ethic said man works and the woman stays at home with the children.
Mm.
When that changed, I think it was in the 50s or somewhere around there, 50s, early 60s, somewhere around there, you know, leave it to beaver time, you know, that kind.
Right.
When that changed, a switch was turned on in the mind of many women in America that said, I don't have to stay at home anymore. I'm a free one. I'm liberated. No more women's suffrage. And they then went out there to make a paycheck to help increase the amount of money that would come into the average household.
Hmm.
But when they did that, they took away the interest on the part of many women to be at home, to raise their children with the kind of attention that their children actually needed.
Hmm.
And it came to be called in the 80s, I believe, they called those children latchkey
Hmm.
children because the key was always on the latch because the woman was mostly out working. So the child had to let him or herself in and let him or herself out. And they suffered. The family actually suffered. They're trying to recover right now, but they don't know what to do about it. But they would suffer because of the lack of attention. And we see it very, very vividly now in this society that the children have gone mad.
Hmm.
Many of the children have gone haywire. They talk back to the parent now. They fight their parents. The father is out of the home in many cases, especially in the so-called minority communities. So I'm saying all of this because it's related to the great cutoff.
Hmm.
One scholar in our history called it the great elimination. And he said it was the elimination of the soul.
Hmm.
So if your soul is eliminated, what goes along with that elimination is the ability to have peace,
Hmm.
the ability to have quietude and an area of concentration where you could think.
Hmm.
All of that represents the great cutoff switch.
Wow.
Yeah. So one more point. The greatest cutoff for human beings is when they cut off our potential to remember our potential.
Hmm.
It's built into the human framework. It's built in by the source creator into the human being to want to be something great.
Hmm.
That child is watching his father, is watching his mother, and he's seeing them do wonderful things in the garden and, you know, at work. And the father takes him to the factory and, you know, he takes him to the fire station to show him what he does as a fireman. And the child is over there with a little plastic fire hat, you know, and he just can't wait to get bigger. Why? So that he can begin fulfilling his potential.
Hmm.
It's ingrained, it's implanted into the human brain and into the human soul to be and do something great, not just normal, great. If I'm going to do this, I want to be the best at it. That's why Muhammad Ali came up so bad. You know, he said, well, I'm the greatest. I'm not just great, I am the greatest, meaning among the, not God. He's not, he's saying amongst the humans that do this.
Right.
I'm the greatest boxer who's ever done this. Somebody else will have to be born in the future to match me because I don't see any of these guys out here that's able to do what it is I'm doing. So When that gets cut off, and it did for him, he got Alzheimer's, and that's another issue in the brain that cuts off memory. Well, then that was the end of his era. So it's the cutting off of that potential. And unfortunately, we as adults allow this to happen right under our noses when it comes to our future generations. We are watching their potential be stymied, be cut off, be whatever word you want to choose for not being able to fulfill its potential. The pineal, if you study that gland, you're going to find out many, many wonderful things that the pineal is able to do. But most people's pineals have been, um, hmm, the word actually is calcified.
Mhm.
That means you have one, but it's no longer working for you. You know, it's been the potential has been calcified so that you can no longer reach the heights that the pineal gland was meant to bring you up into. So because of that, many scientists say that the pineal is what they call a vestigial organ. It's just a vestige. It's just it's there, but it's not there. It's like some people say about what is that they take out of your what is that? Like your tonsils. They say you don't really need it, so yeah, whatever. If it activates, good for you. But no, the pineal was meant to be activated by any individual, not just Einstein. These are the people who manifest that potential in the brain, but that potential is in every sane individual,
Yes.
but it needs to be cultivated.
Mm.
Okay, you can't just leave it to do its own thing. It needs to be cultivated. It needs to be directed. It needs to be cared for because it has to mature.
Mm.
So unless we want our pineals, and I'm speaking now in the interest of our future generations, unless we want that pineal to become something that actually um, just like I said, it's there, but it's not there. I think the activation of the pineal is what's going to get human beings out of this turmoil
Yes.
because you need an extension. You need to be connected to something that's not the world that they created for us. And the pineal connects you to a cosmic reality, not just an earthly reality. Now, I don't want to get all sci-fi, but the pineal connects us to a universal energy. And as you know, everything is energy, everything is frequency, everything is vibration. Those are the three levels of activation that the pineal is responsible for accessing. And if you don't get access to that, you have only to depend on the intellect.
Mm.
But the intellect is severely prejudiced in favor of some race, in favor of a particular gender, in favor of a particular social narrative that they're going to hold on to until they die, because the right is right and the left is left, and nothing's in between except what I choose to be. But that's your intellect doing that. Your intellect is created to separate and divide,
Mm.
but it's created for that so that it could separate and divide things so that it could figure out what it is in an effort to put it back together. When you put it back together, you have that cosmic tie that allows for Hamza to be activated.
Wow. There's so much to be said about this. You're talking about activation. As you were talking, man, I was just out
I can see it.
thinking about those pine cones, just
Yeah.
fire just
Yeah.
exploding.
Yes.
Listening to you,
That's right.
but I'll have to save my input for later.
All
You know,
right. Yeah.
because
Well,
we only introduce so much
yeah.
for now. But
Yes.
be with us, stay with us, join this effort. Go to our website, nuneticsinstitute.org. We have so much more to share with you. And this letter alone, we could stay on, oh God, for put so much time in
Absolutely.
it to understand this, and it's so important and it's so needed with all the chaos and confusion in the world today.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that.
The the people who understand this language from way back, they know that it wasn't just called the pineal gland. That's the name that science gave to it. But the people of old biblical times and that kind of thing, they used to call it a
Mhm,
stone,
mhm,
because it could become calcified.
mhm.
And they are connecting it now to the Bible statement about the stone that was rejected.
Builders rejected it.
Yeah, the stone that the builders rejected will become the cornerstone.
Cornerstone.
So that's my hope for the
Yes,
reactivation of that so-called vestigial organ.
indeed, indeed. Like I said, we can. There's so much. It brought so many memories back to me, and so many times in my life experience that we just don't have time for today. So,
Yeah.
join us, get involved in this journey. It's an awesome, awesome, awesome journey. I'm telling you,
Yes. Yeah.
journey to explore this cosmic order, not only out there, but inside of here and inside of here, and what truly makes us human. That's the journey we're in, to really become acquainted with that and to use that in our everyday life experience. That's what nunetics will do for you.
Yeah.
So join us in this journey. Get in our class, read the books. There are plenty of them. 24, going on 27.
Yes. Right. Next week. That's right.
So until our
Put in
next,
your order. Yeah. Visit
yeah,
nuneticsinstitute.org and put in your order. Yeah.
there you go. That's right. That's right. That's right.
All right.
Plane is on the track and it's moving.
Yeah. 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 So thank you, sir, for being
So
with me
whatever.
once again.
Yes, we will
Yeah.
say peace, and we'll see you in the last letter of the Arabic alphabet's coming up
Here we
next.
go. You don't want to
Yeah,
miss that.
don't miss that. With that,
Yeah. I said yeah, but I should have said yeah, because that's the last letter. All
yeah.
right. See you momentarily. Peace.